Bruce Almighty is the story of a news reporter named Bruce Nolan, Jim Carrey, who covers fluff stories for TV news in Buffalo, New York. The story opens with Bruce in a bakery, spidery hairnet yanked over his forehead, diligently reporting on the largest cookie ever baked in Buffalo. At the end of the sequence, we are introduced to one of the film's running jokes: "That's the way the cookie crumbles." He enters a warehouse to find that the ground floor is empty except for an African-American janitor, Morgan Freeman, mopping the floor. Bruce asks for directions to room 7 on the 7th floor, finding much to his annoyance that the elevator doesn't work. As he heads for the stairs, the janitor asks him to help mop the floor, and Bruce retorts that he would be happy to help in 7 days at 7 o'clock. Arriving on the 7th floor, Bruce finds himself in a huge, empty room that's painted stark white. As he calls out for help, the janitor climbs down a ladder through a hole in the ceiling connected to a brightly lighted room above. Bruce thinks the janitor must have taken the elevator to get there ahead of him, and watches while he strips off his coveralls and sits down behind a white desk impeccably dressed in a white suit and tie, disclosing, much to Bruce's amusement, that he is, in fact, God. God proceeds to prove his powers by showing Bruce a file cabinet that contains everything that ever happened in his life. The drawer is so long that it pushes Bruce all the way across the room, then slams shut again, dragging Bruce along behind. Bruce is still skeptical, so he and God play a game where God guesses how many fingers Bruce will hold up. Bruce is finally convinced that something strange is going on when he holds up one hand with 7 fingers just as God says, 7. God has a plan for Bruce. Since Bruce thinks God isn't doing a very good job, he will give Bruce all his powers and see if Bruce can do any better. God retreats to his ladder, clapping for the lights to go back on so he can climb back up. Clap on, is another joke that repeats throughout the film. Bruce makes a quick exit, not believing a word of what this self-proclaimed God has told him. Outside in the street, Bruce finds that he can walk across the puddle that tripped him up earlier. His car won't start until he bangs his hands on the steering wheel and yells, "Start." As he drives, he realizes that all his fantasies, such as for example being Clint Eastwood, easily come true. Bruce stops at a diner to order coffee and the waitress convinces him to add an order of tomato soup. He agrees, then decides to try out parting the Red Sea with his bowl of soup. The soup parts in two, Bruce's hair flies about, amazing another customer. God appears out of nowhere, sitting in the booth across from Bruce as he finally comes to the realization that he does indeed possess all of God's powers. Bruce and God then go for a walk, where God tells Bruce about the 2 rules of his powers: he can't tell anyone he's God, and he can't mess with free will. Bruce then sees a boat sail past, and he realizes that the 2 of them are walking on a lake in Buffalo. God then leaves Bruce, and Bruce runs off to have fun with his powers.